the chef, and I am here to stir the pot. So let me go. Stir the pot.
Dads everywhere, rejoice. Bust out the New Balances, rev up those lawnmowers, because spring is in full effect. And by full effect, I mean the Texas air is full of clouds of deadly allergens, which is probably why I sound like a chain smoker right now.
Yeah, I've had 4 nosebleeds in the past, 2 days. So either I'm a giant crackhead or it's springtime.
Who's to say?
One of those is far more likely than the other. For our non-Texan listeners, once a year, Texas just sort of explodes in noxious clouds of pollen and spores and other microbial terrors.
East Texas.
Yeah, and people still choose to live here for some reason.
Yeah, think of the end of How It Ends, except instead of dust and debris, it is baby tree seeds. No, that's wrong. I failed biology. Listen, I didn't go to school for freaking environmental science. I went for theater, and I don't need to know that.
So for those of you just now tuning in, this is Stir the Plot, a plotcast for movie lovers. I'm Brady King.
I'm Derek Fultz.
I'm Colton Hart.
Hey, and I'm Cameron.
And we are a podcast where we watch the first and last scenes of a movie and then just sort of improv what happens in between. This one's a little weird because this is the first episode where we're not all in the same room together.
Yeah, Colton is actually dead. We have a Ouija board right now, and we are contacting him through the board. Oh my God, it's moving.
We have a certified voice actor who's playing Colton.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Gone but never forgotten.
Object permanence means nothing to me because I've already forgotten Colton exists.
And we're so cavalier about it that we would still record a podcast. It's yeah, our friend is dead, but we still have content we need to put out.
The show must go on.
Right, as Queen said. So, I don't know about you guys. I am shocked, perplexed, befuddled that we have now made it to 5 episodes of this show and amassed a group of followers.
Yeah, people still want to listen to the show? What?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, that's wild to me. So I think we need to do what every good podcast and YouTuber do nowadays and give their fans a name. We need to give our fans a name.
All right.
Is Little Monsters taken?
No.
All right, that's my vote.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Little Monsters for Colton. I am. God. The only thing that I can think of that comes to mind is Plot Thought.
That's the high tier.
What up, Plot Thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh man, Raindrop.
Plot Thought.
Either that or maybe for a mid tier we could go with Plotties.
Ooh.
Instagram Plotties. Yeah, when we start our Patreon on episode 7, we need to have our different tiers. But on the real, plot holes.
Ew.
Could you imagine a kid walking up to me I'm your biggest plot hole?
Yeah. If you check out our Patreon store, we've actually added Plot Thought crop tops for all of our high tier listeners. So go ahead and get those orders in because we're going to have to place them soon.
Yeah, we have Plots and Crop Tops 2K19. Okay, so no on plot holes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a no for plot holes. I don't want to run into the awkward situation where I meet a fan on the street and they refer to themselves as a plot hole in front of.
So you would rather hear someone on the street, possibly a 12-year-old, call himself a plot thought rather than a plot hole?
Than a plot hole? Yes, plot hole sounds like a part of the body that shouldn't exist.
I changed my mind. I want plot hole.
Imagine you're at Mall of America and an 8-year-old comes up and he's like, oh yeah, I'm your biggest plot thought. Tell me what police officer wouldn't arrest you on the spot.
Okay, so what movie are we doing today, Colton?
We are doing Birdemic, Shock and Terror. If you don't know anything about this movie, y'all, this is one of those The Room style movies where it's so bad that hysterical and it's good. But this is, I wouldn't even call it a cult classic though, because it's really bad.
It's utter garbage. So on this podcast, we are not legally allowed to play movie audio. So what we do is we instead read the movie in screenplay format. Colton Hart will be narrating, and me and Derek are going to be playing a couple characters. So I think without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the first scene of Birdemic. Colton, take it away.
From the inside of a blue Ford Mustang, we see a montage of a sunny California town. At the wheel, Rod steers his car past several sleepy downtown shops before parking in front of a small diner. Rod heads inside, where a smiling waitress greets him in a thick Russian accent.
Hi.
Hi.
She gestures for him to have a seat at the nearest table.
Here is the menu.
Thank you.
I'll be right back with you.
She slinks creepily back behind the counter. Rod takes a long look at the menu, flipping through a couple pages before something catches his attention. A young blonde girl, Natalie, sits across the diner from him as she eats her food. Rod stares at her. Natalie doesn't look up. Rod keeps staring. And keeps staring. Finally, Natalie finishes her meal and heads out the door. Rod checks her out as she walks past, then rushes after her. Outside, he taps Natalie on the shoulder.
Excuse me, miss?
Yeah?
Natalie stares at him with all the personality of a stale piece of white bread.
I don't mean to bother you.
What?
I think I know you from somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, did you go to San Mateo High School?
Yeah, how'd you know that?
I went there too. So are you from here?
Not really. My mother lives up here, but I'm from San Francisco. What about you?
San Jose. I remember you now. You're from my English class.
I was?
Yeah, I sat 2 seats behind you.
You remember that far.
Yeah. So what do you do?
I'm a fashion model.
And a beautiful one too.
Thanks. Well, it was nice talking to you, but I should get going. I've got an audition for a modeling job. Good talking to you.
Same here.
Natalie turns and heads down the sidewalk. Rod stares at her and keeps staring. And keeps staring. Jeez.
Rod is a serial killer.
Yeah, so Rod is basically the less charismatic Ted Bundy.
I feel like he's the more obvious Zodiac killer. Mm-hmm. He picks something less interesting as his MO. It's not like the Zodiac, it's like the car dealership killer, like the Happy Honda Days killer.
Yeah, he sells used cars by day, murders by night.
Yeah, the Kia summer sales event murderer.
Toyota Truck Month terror. Can anyone tell me when Truck Month is? Because I feel like it's at all times, but I really don't know. Like, this is an honest question. We don't have to put this in the podcast. I legit am curious when it is.
No, Truck Month is every month if you believe hard enough.
Yeah, I think the car dealership killer and Ted Cruz actually worked at the same dealership.
Yeah, just one actually did something with their life. Okay, Rod is obviously a serial killer. He's not charismatic at all. I think that he's made up this entire story to get to Natalie.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Also, I think we're ignoring like the more glaringly obvious problem, and that is that this man sat in the booth probably 10 to 15 minutes real time, and no one took his order.
I mean, the waitress did something.
She said, "I'll be right back," but then never came back.
Yeah, because he murdered her off screen.
Yeah, that's in the outtakes.
Yeah, the weird thing about Birdemic is they actually murdered that actress.
It's real hardcore method acting.
Or they just found a real serial killer, brought him on set, and were like, "Hey, man, have at it."
You just do your thing. We'll be back here. Also, this movie's called Birdemic, and there's been no mention of birds.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that the bird is going to come to play like later on in the movie. Like I think the bird in Birdemic is more of like a symbolism thing.
Mm-hmm. Like we're all going through our own personal Birdemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Like everyone's got the avian flu, maybe.
Bird flu.
Or maybe Rod is such an extra serial killer that the way he kills people is giving them the avian flu.
Ooh. You can't trace that.
So I don't really know much about what the symbolism is, but I think it's going to play a really big part later on in the movie.
I will say that there is like a hard, maybe not symbolism, but like there's a hard message you're supposed to take away from this movie.
Yeah, this is for sure a faith-based film.
Okay.
I think it was in the subtle way that he had his eyes glued to her butt on the way out.
Yeah, I think that kind of represents temptation and his sort of like journey into the fallenness of man.
The Birdemic, if you will.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and discover where this movie actually goes. Colton, do you want to start the second scene for us?
Yes. On a windy beach, Natalie and two young children play in the sand. Rod strolls up to them, a fishing pole in one hand, a pre-frozen tilapia in the other.
I caught a fish.
Looks good. I caught some seaweed.
Natalie holds up a plastic tub of horrific brown sludge. Rod smiles.
Good. I'm going to go up to the van and get the stove so we can cook this.
Natalie smiles, clutching her oozing pail of seaweed. Sometime later, Rod and Natalie scoop a steaming seafood mixture onto a small plate and hands them to the children.
Yuck. I want a Happy Meal.
Me too.
Come on, guys. There's no Happy Meal time here. Just try the seaweed. It's really good.
No, I want a Happy Meal.
Suddenly, a shriek rings out through the sky. Everyone looks up, panicking.
Guys, get up. Into the van. Eagles!
The team, not the birds. This family's sitting on a beach picnicking, and then all of a sudden the entirety of the Eagles football team comes out in full gear.
Eagles!
Charges after them.
I'm so sorry. Keep going.
The family sprints towards the van. Natalie suddenly has a pistol in her hand. From out of the sky, dozens of entry-level CGI birds descend on the family. They close the doors to the van just in time. Natalie hands the pistol to Rod, who begins shooting at the incoming birds. He lets out several shots before running out of ammo.
No more ammo.
Rod picks up a crowbar to defend himself and hands Natalie an empty gas can. The MS Paint birds begin pecking at the windows. One dive bombs the front window, cracking it. The eagles shriek and flap their wings around the van for another minute or so before turning and flying away.
Look, they're leaving.
With the coast clear, Rod, Natalie, and the children leave the van and watch the flock of eagles as they disappear into the sky. Roll credits.
I think we need to have a heart to heart here. I want a good movie. That's something that we can decide at a later date. Maybe we'll put it up to a poll or something. I just want a better movie next time.
Well, this is a critically acclaimed trash movie.
Yeah, and I can't really say that because I voted for this movie.
Okay, so here's my theory for how this movie goes. So in the first scene, Rod says goodbye to Natalie. She walks away, gets in the car. What you don't see is in the driver's side, her boyfriend, who is also an eagle, is like, babe, who was that? Later on, we see Rod, Natalie's friendship and relationship develop. The eagle gets increasingly more jealous and then invites his friends to come beat them up on a beach.
Okay, here's some context I need to fill up for this movie. Natalie and Rod have formed a relationship. Rod has essentially brainwashed her. Mm-hmm. That's why she's staying with him and rejecting her former eagle boyfriend.
Right.
Her boyfriend is staging basically like a rescue mission at this point, which is why he invites the Philadelphia Eagles to come with him. Rod, in order to protect his facade that he has created, tries to kill them all. He's a horrible shot. And so they're like, we can't stay here anymore. We have to leave, man. Just leave her. She's gone.
Well, that makes this ending so heartbreaking.
Exactly.
Man, because he leaves his wife and children, or his girlfriend and children, in the hands of this Walmart brand Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
This is all a metaphor for sin. Rod is the devil.
Oh, gotcha.
She has become disillusioned with sin. That's why she's down with eating rotting seaweed and great value brand frozen tilapia.
And I think there's one thing we might be overlooking. Could this not be the Eagles rock band?
Okay. Do you think the song playing during the end credits is Hotel California?
A lot of people think that the song was just about drugs, but really it was about the Birdemic shock and terror that Don Henley was going through at the time.
Yeah.
This movie is actually, you know how The Wizard of Oz, when you play it with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album? Mm-hmm. This movie is similar, where if you play Hotel California, it lines up perfectly.
Oh. So this is only about like a 5 or 6 minute movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also if you play Hotel California backwards, it's just an eagle screeching for 3.5 minutes. Either that or it's like a satanic message.
No, it's not the Beatles.
Hotel California is full of a lot of dark energy.
Oh, yeah. So, in this horrible, horrible narrative that we have woven, do you think there's a sequel?
There has to be. I mean, there has to be some redeeming factor. Like, I feel like the end was a really decent cliffhanger. You know, like he's now left his kids at the mercy of this serial killer. He's got to come back. Like, he's got to get the band back together. Don Henley has to get the band back together.
Right.
So I will tell y'all that there is, in fact, a Birdemic 2. It's called Birdemic 2, The Resurrection.
No.
Okay. Still playing into the faith-based theme. I like it.
And the fact that that's like IRL, like not a made-up joke, is the most shocking part about this.
I've also seen that movie, and it's worse. They basically, I think they tried to turn into the skid of Birdemic was a bad movie. So they're just like, oh, let's make another one. And it's just like
a Sharknado.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like, oh, this is somehow worse and not in the good way.
Like the novelty of it is gone. This is just bad.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So really, there's no redeeming factor to this movie. He just abandons his kids on a beach.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. We've all been there.
I just can't wait to pick this movie up in a Lifeway Christian store near me. I can't wait for my pastor's 6-week-long sermon series about this movie.
Yeah, there's going to be a VeggieTales miniseries spinoff. It's going to be great.
Do y'all want to hear what this movie is actually about?
No.
All right, cool.
That's fair.
I have a feeling we don't have a choice, but go ahead.
All right. So Rod is a software salesman in Silicon Valley. He meets up with his old classmate.
Well, sorry, what about that first scene ever gave me the impression that he works in Silicon Valley?
He works with his old classmate, Natalie, who's a fashion model. They grow closer. They go on a couple dates. They consummate their relationship in a motel.
So not a faith-based movie.
No, not
the ultimate Birdemic premarital sex. This is like an It Follows situation where it's
no.
a message about like STDs or something.
It follows just the avian flu. Have sex before marriage and the Philadelphia Eagles will come beat the living snot out of you.
Oh, man. Okay. So after they wake up, they find that their town is under attack from eagles and vultures. The birds spit acid and explode into flames upon striking the ground.
I didn't think anything could beat the Transformers. I didn't think anything could beat the Transformers. I'm just as angry as I was during Transformers.
So they escape the hotel by joining up with 2 other people. And mind you, they're leaving this hotel. They are fighting with coat hangers. Y'all should really look it up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. They rescue 2 young children as they're leaving town, Susan and Tony. Their parents were killed by the birds.
This is Bird Box.
I could see the crossover though. Like
that's right.
It all comes back to Bird Box.
These are the birds outside of the aviary. It's a nightmare out there.
Absolutely.
The only music available is eagle covers. Or is there any explanation as to where the birds actually come from? Or are we just under the assumption that like birds have always been able to do this and they just decided today was the day?
So basically the thought is later on they meet a guy, his name is Tom Hill, and he talks to them about the dangers. He talks to them about the dangers of global warming. So this entire thing,
Gotcha.
This entire thing is like a global warming like movie.
So if the Green Deal does not go through, acid spitting vultures.
Exactly.
This is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is trying to warn us about.
If the ice caps melt, it will release clouds and clouds of exploding vultures into the sky.
That's right. And then they pretty much that's where the movie ends. I'm trying to see the cast of this movie. Probably no one you've ever heard of.
I guarantee you it's not.
There's one girl in this movie. I don't know if she plays Natalie. Her name is Whitney Moore.
Yeah, she plays Natalie.
I have watched her on YouTube for the past couple of years, and when I found out that she was in Birdemic, I was like, oh, you just needed a paycheck, didn't you?
Yeah, no, that's...
It honestly sounds like a YouTube career was the most anyone got out of this movie.
No, yeah, there's... the director's name is James Wynn. Brady, if that means anything to you.
No, none of these names mean anything to me, and I'm pretty sure none of these actors got paid in anything except like spit and verbal abuse.
What we don't know is James Wynn is actually just a mispronunciation of James Gunn.
This is why he was fired from Disney. They watched Birdemic and they were like, James, you got some explaining to do.
This movie is bad. Like, there's tons of like plot holes and like continuity errors in the movie. It's like...
So as I was transcribing these first and last scenes, what I couldn't get over was how wooden the acting was. I mean, legitimately, it's like some Men in Black-esque alien in people's bodies. Like, no one behaves this way, even in front of a camera. It's bizarre.
So I have done the grueling task of pulling up the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie. It's 19%.
Yeah.
And that 19% came from the director's mother.
Let me read you some of the positive reviews first.
Yes, please.
Wynn's DIY fingerprints are on every frame. Like The Room, it's the antidote to mass culture. A singular auteur with a dream. Howlingly bad films are a dime a dozen. But the evident Ed Wood-like sincerity with which writer-director James Wynn lovingly crafts this compendium of cinematic don'ts gives it a goofy, almost surrealist charm.
As in, it's surreal that I'm wasting my time watching this movie. I was looking through IMDb earlier, and this film had, I think, roughly a budget of $30,000, which blows my mind to think that somebody halfway through the production looked around and said, yeah, you know what? I've gotten my $30,000 worth out of this.
It was some dying old man who was like trying to spend the last remaining amount of his 401k. And he's like, well, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, this movie was a tax write-off. Like, it had to be. Either that or some sort of like diamond smuggling operation.
Or
it's a money laundering scheme.
Someone just needed to keep up their SAG membership. So they're just like, I guess I'll make a movie. So, Colton, you've already seen it.
Yep.
But would you watch this movie again?
If a friend wanted to watch it, I'd be like, yeah, let's watch it again. It's a funny movie to make fun of. By myself, no.
Brady?
I feel like this is one of those movies that like I would watch with friends, but also it would be for the purpose of background noise. You know, like we're obviously doing or engaged in some other activity, like literally anything else, clipping each other's toenails, reading a novel, like I don't anything else.
Praying.
Yeah, asking for forgiveness.
I'm not going to be the negative Nancy of the group. I don't know if I would watch this movie even with friends. I might give it a try.
Hey, Colton, can you remove Derek from the invite list for our Birdemic watch party?
Yeah, I got it.
Guys, no, I was going to bring pigs in a blanket. I was going to bring birds in a box.
I was going to bring 3-day-old seaweed.
Oh, that's the one. That's what I want.
All right, so I think that the well is pretty much dry on this. I think we need to go ahead and hang it up.
I don't know that there was a well so much as like a puddle.
A mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah. So let us know if you would have rather watched that plot as opposed to whatever Colton just read. But right now, we have a new segment that we wanted to introduce. I think our Oscar episode went over really well. We liked the pace of it. Colton, why don't you explain how this works?
Yeah, so basically, we are going to call this segment Shaken, Not Stirred. Basically, we have two different pools to choose from. Movie titles and movie genres, and I'm going to spin the wheel on both of these and see what we get. I basically took the top 25 movies that everyone has seen according to IMDb.
This is going to be completely randomized, and we're just going to have to improv what we think this movie is about based on the genre that we get. So if we get Jaws as an anime or The Breakfast Club as a Western, we're just going to have to like run through our ideas as fast as possible.
Our first one is Forrest Gump, And our genre is a sports movie.
Well, I think you just take the sports scenes that are already in Forrest Gump
Yeah.
and you just play on that a little more.
He's an ultimate track star.
And an ultimate table tennis player.
That's right. Is Forrest Gump a sports movie?
It's a spin-off of his sports career.
Here's my theory. So it plays out just like normal Forrest Gump does until he reaches that scene where he plays football. But the only difference is he tears his ACL. He's out for the season.
Of course.
He can't play football anymore. He discovers table tennis.
Oh, that's how he ends up in the hospital, right?
Yeah. And he's like Lieutenant Diane Osprey, that sort of thing. He then eventually ends up going to the Olympics in a table tennis tournament, sort of like a Karate Kid thing. Lieutenant Dan is his ping pong teacher.
Right.
I think it ends with him winning. There's multiple sequels. It's a lovely franchise.
Yeah, and it eventually gets turned into a TV series or a Netflix original TV series later on down the line.
Right.
All right. Well, that's our pitch for Forrest Gump as a sports movie. Colton, let's do it again.
The Breakfast Club, and our movie genre is apocalyptic. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that the apocalypse is like here almost upon us, like that Bruce Willis movie where he has to... Armageddon. Yeah, so Armageddon, and there is a team tasked with stopping Armageddon, and it's filled with the most brilliant scientists, but they're only allowed to meet during breakfast because of all their conflicting schedules.
Right. They're just so busy throughout the day. The Breakfast Club is like the one time that they have to sort of like browse Reddit in the morning, get their cappuccinos.
And stop the apocalypse.
And stop the apocalypse.
All in a day's work.
What do you think the hours for breakfast are like for the meetings? Do you think it's like normal McDonald's hours? Like it ends at 11?
Ooh.
Oh, wait, they do breakfast all day.
Shoot, yeah. Who doesn't do breakfast all day now, though?
Stopping the apocalypse is a full-time job, so it's sort of like an around-the-clock thing.
Right. Also, eating McGriddle is a full-time job.
Yeah, you don't stop.
The only way to stop the apocalypse is to eat an entire month's worth of McGriddle.
Oh, I'm down. Where do I sign up? So they're a group of scientists. They can only meet together during breakfast, hence the Breakfast Club. The way that they can stop the apocalypse is they have to eat a year's supply of McGriddles. It turns into like a psychological sort of like they all start turning against each other sort of thing.
Right.
There is no apocalypse.
Twist.
The apocalypse is the one that they have in the bathroom after eating all those McGriddles.
Or
If they make it out alive.
the apocalypse is what they turn into after eating a year's worth of
Eating so
McGriddles.
many.
Their insides are just an apocalypse. A barren wasteland of nuclear fallout and genetically modified cheese.
Oh, yikes. All right, Colton, let's get another one.
It's a Wonderful Life. As a parody movie.
A parody of what?
Well, in the same vein as like Scary Movie or like Disaster Movie. Okay. It's a Wonderful Life is a parody of Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yes.
Okay.
And this guy is just having an awful time. He lives in a town called Christmas Town, and all the couples are meeting like big time CO executives and like converting them into the Christmas spirit. But this one girl cannot seem to find anyone.
Right. And the only way that she's going to be able to change her mind is if our main character takes her back to her hometown where she meets a hunk that she went to high school with. That wasn't a hunk.
She didn't see it then, but now she does.
It is a glow up if we've ever seen one. I mean, they find the most like bachelor-esque looking white dude, but he can't see her.
Oh, like she's a ghost of Christmas present sort of thing?
Yeah. Like, in It's a Wonderful Life, he basically like wishes he was never born.
Or she wishes for like true Christmas spirit, and this like old looking guy's like, no. And then he shows her what her life would look like as a Hallmark movie.
If she celebrated Christmas.
And she's horrified.
Takes her like through a Macy's, like takes her through a Walmart on Black Friday, and she's like, I don't really see what I'm missing. You're not really selling this, man.
And he's like, that's the point all along.
He takes her through like a family dinner where the uncle that no one really talks to inevitably brings up politics. You can see the table just sort of visibly change whenever you hear him say, "So I was reading on Huffington Post the other day."
My good friend Alex Jones says, the water turns frogs gay.
That's right. That's right. It's the fluoride in the water.
And she is just horrified at what she's seeing. She's like, "No, take me back, take me back." And so he takes her back. And, you know, every time a bell rings, a plain milquetoast white girl meets her future husband.
Oh, man. Do we want one more?
All right. Hit me, Colton.
You've got mail
Oh my God, that's a deep cut.
as a science fiction movie.
Maybe it's just like the life and times of cosmic FedEx delivery.
Or it's like this guy set in like present day is getting letters from the future from himself.
Sort of like that episode of The Office.
Like the Jim Dwight prank.
Gotcha.
Or Memento. Where do these AIM messages come from?
Who's been sending me emails?
Yeah, there's just one email that says, "Don't eat the seaweed," and he's like, "What?"
What? You could slowly start like integrating in like, yeah, you're wearing this colored shirt, or like this is gonna happen at work today, and it does, and then it gets more and more serious. Like, don't talk to this person, or like, don't pick up groceries from here. Like, it starts the apocalypse.
And then it ends with our protagonist meeting his future self.
Ooh.
And the universe explodes. It ends with our protagonist meeting his future self, and they both get an email from an even more future self.
Oh, shoot. And it says, like, don't meet each other.
Roll credits. Absolutely.
It just says there can only be one, and then a crowbar gets tossed in between them. Roll credits.
Or they remember that they are siblings and that their parents are divorced and that they have to get them back together.
And both of the brothers are actually Lindsay Lohan.
Yes, they're both Lindsay Lohan. This is the Parent Trap. All right, y'all. That was Shaken Not Stirred. I think that went well.
I think it went really well.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun. Let us know if you think our genre mashups were accurate and if you'd actually like to see those movies.
Or if you have any movies that you would like to see us shake up, send it to our email, stirtheplot@gmail.com. Send it to us on Facebook, anything like that. Just get a hold of us. Please talk to us. We're so lonely. It's lonely in heaven.
The top of the podcasting charts.
I wish. So we asked a couple days ago for you guys to, if you wanted a shout out, to send us an email or anything like that. The subject of this email is literally just "ya yeet." So it says, "From Oliver Davis, hi, you guys are funny. I love you."
Oh, thanks, Oliver. Do we know that guy?
No, I had no idea.
Never heard from him before.
No. Yeah, I have a weird thing about saying "I love you" to strangers, but I mean, I guess I can make an exception for this one.
We do appreciate your patronage, but you have been blocked and reported.
Yeah, you're not a plot thought anymore. You're plot block.
You've moved down a tier. You've moved from plot thought to plotty. Sorry, bud.
There's also one other shout out that I want to give, and hopefully they've made it this far into the podcast. I hope they have. There is a mutual friend of all of ours. This friend of ours, her name is Mrs. Hahn, and she teaches pre-AP English. And I got a message from her the other day saying that she uses our podcast to teach plot structure and inferencing to her pre-AP English class, which is absolutely buck wild to me.
Yeah.
It's a little surreal that we're being used in the American education system. I think we've made it.
Yeah, we are essentially a part of curriculum at this point, which is, I'm training to be a teacher right now. I don't think the TEA would approve of this at all.
A big shout out to Mrs. Hahn's class. Hope you guys are doing well, staying on that pre-AP.
Yeah, please stay in school. We need people out there that are listening to these big, dumb, stupid podcasts that are going to do amazing things. But if you keep listening to our big, dumb, stupid podcasts, you're going to do fine.
Stay in school, eat your vitamins, and keep listening to Stir the Plot.
Tell your friends. So I'm a substitute teacher at a high school right now, and I am now facing the dilemma of high school students finding my social media. They have now found this podcast.
Oh, no.
So I would also like to give a shout out to them if they are listening. Hi, this is Mr. Foltz. Now you know how big of a doofus I am in real life.
And don't talk back to me in class.
Oh, please don't. That's the worst thing in the world. I would like for this podcast to be spread around in other schools that I don't have like my hands dipped into right now.
Oh man, I'll tell my kids.
So now we just want to talk about a few things that's been on our radar recently, things we've been watching, things that we really want to see. Colton, is there anything that you've it's been on your pop culture radar lately?
Yeah, I just watched Alita Battle Angel. Brady, I know you also saw it, but I thought it was really good. There were some parts that were not great, but I know I told you this, Brady. Anytime the boyfriend was on the scene, I wasn't a big fan of his acting.
Yeah.
It really made her human. Like, her awkwardness was weird and interesting, and I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really did. So I would really recommend, if you like that kind of stuff, going and seeing Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, to its credit, they definitely escaped the uncanny valley as far as the CGI goes. But I couldn't really get over how sensually she was looking at everything with her giant anime eyes. It was
Anime, the movie.
Yeah. So that was a little weird. But I actually just went to watch How to Train Your Dragon 3. I've been a longtime fan of the series. What a finale. Let me just tell you guys, like,
Good.
man, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I was worried because with How to Train Your Dragon 2, it was like, oh, please don't be bad. And then it wasn't. And then How to Train Your Dragon 3, it was like, oh, please don't be bad.
No, it wasn't. It
As
really
someone
was not.
who read a lot of the books that those movies are based on, I found it like really incredible how they were able to take a kind of like stupid book series and turn it into like a moving piece of art. I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's like, it's amazing. 1 and 2 are so good.
I was very happy with how the series wrapped up, for sure. Derek, how about you?
I just want to briefly say I haven't really been watching a lot of like new stuff. One thing that has recently popped up on my radar is a show. It's not a Netflix original, but it's on Netflix called Schitt's Creek, and that is spelled SCHITTS. Mom. My mom is the one that put me onto the show, so it's fine. It reminds me a lot of Arrested Development in the sense of just like the writing is so sharp and it's just so witty and funny and just stupid. It's got Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. It's just so good. I recommend that to anyone who needs a really like good, funny show to watch. And I also think that the newest season of Arrested Development is almost out. So go ahead and watch that. That's all I have to say about that.
So as always, guys, it's been great having y'all on board. Thank you so much for the love on our previous episodes. As always, you can find us on iTunes and Spotify. We also sort of made it onto a couple more channels this week. Google Play, Broadcaster, a few others. We've expanded our empire to pretty much anywhere podcasters hold.
I think the only land that we haven't conquered is SoundCloud,
Which is where we're reserving room for our Stir the Plot mixtape that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I go by the name Lil Tylenol PM on there. Be on the lookout for that.
All right, guys. Well, feel free to reach out on our social media. We check our Instagram pretty often, our Twitter, using the hashtag StirThePlot. And if you have any questions, comments, email us at stirtheplot@gmail.com.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Derek Foltz and see my kind of sort of viral tweet about the Oscars. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. That'd be greatly appreciated. And that's probably what helps us out the most in terms of our podcast coming up. So, yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. We love y'all. This has been Stir the Plot. I'm Brady King.
I'm Derek Foltz.
I'm Colton Hart.
And I'm Cameron.
And if you see Sandra Bullock, hug her.
She needs it.
Starty butt. She put the